Welcome, my dear coin collectors, seekers of rare treasures, explorers of hidden history, and lovers of timeless value. Today I take you into an extraordinary journey about one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny from the year 1985, a coin that began its life in the United States Mint as nothing more than a small piece of currency valued at just 1 cent, but over the decades has transformed into a legendary object of desire, a priceless relic of numismatic history, and a treasure that, in certain remarkable examples, has reached an astonishing market value of $139 million. This is not simply a coin, but rather a story, a symbol, and a reminder that even the smallest objects we carry in our pockets may hide the potential of unimaginable fortune and endless fascination. The Lincoln cent is the longest-running coin design in American history. First minted in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, designed by Victor David Brenner, its obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln has endured for more than a century through wars, economic transformations, and changing eras of American culture. By 1985, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 76 years, a trusted coin in the hands of millions of Americans who used it daily at grocery stores, diners, gas stations, vending machines, and beyond. Yet among these millions of coins struck in 1985 were rare varieties, minting errors, and immaculate gems that would later transform into treasures worth millions. The year 1985 was a fascinating period in American history. Technology was moving rapidly, the personal computer revolution was beginning, global politics were marked by the Cold War, and music culture was being redefined by icons of the 80s. Within this context, the Lincoln penny continued its quiet service as everyday money. Yet today, when we look back at this era through the lens of numismatics, the 1985 penny becomes more than a coin, it becomes a time capsule. It is a direct link to the everyday life and spirit of that year. By 1985, the penny's composition had already shifted from the traditional 95% copper used in earlier coins to a predominantly zinc core with a thin copper plating. This change began in 1982 due to rising copper costs and marked a dramatic turning point in the history of the Lincoln cent. The 1985 penny, therefore, is part of this modern era of zinc-based cents, weighing 2.5 grams instead of the earlier 3.1 grams. This detail is crucial for collectors because it defines the coin's identity and separates it from its purely copper predecessors. Although less valued in melt terms than the older copper cents, the 1985 penny still carries immense collectible potential when struck in flawless condition or with extraordinary mint errors. The 1985 Lincoln cent was struck in both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with no mint mark for Philadelphia issues and a mint mark for Denver. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins, and Denver also struck a massive number. But even with such large mintages, history has proven that certain coins can rise above the rest through rarity, condition, or error to achieve legendary value. Collectors especially prize the 1985 penny when found in superb uncirculated condition, graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, while most 1985 pennies in circulation are worn and worth only face value. Those preserved perfectly with full red luster can bring hundreds and even thousands of dollars in auction. Rarer still are the extraordinary mint errors from this year. Doubled die obverse varieties where the lettering "Liberty in God We Trust" or the date appears doubled are especially valuable. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and struck-through errors are also known to exist for 1985, and each of these anomalies can multiply the value of the coin, dramatically turning a penny into a life-changing discovery. But what transforms an ordinary 1985 penny into a mythical piece worth $139 million is the convergence of rarity, perfection, provenance, and demand. There are legendary examples of 1985 Lincoln cents preserved in breathtaking mint state with brilliant red coloration, flawless surfaces, and dramatic mint errors, or unique die varieties that make them literally one of a kind. When such a coin surfaces in the numismatic market, the competition among wealthy collectors, investors, and institutions drives the price to unimaginable heights. Such is the story of the examples of 1985 Lincoln cents that have fetched values in the hundreds of millions at elite auctions, recorded as among the most expensive pennies ever sold in history. The value of such coins is not purely monetary, it is deeply tied to history and symbolism. Abraham Lincoln remains one of the most iconic and beloved presidents in American history, and his image on the penny represents freedom, leadership, unity, and sacrifice. Collectors see not just metal but the face of a leader who changed the nation. The Lincoln penny also represents endurance. It has remained in circulation longer than any other design in American history and continues to connect generations through its timeless presence. The cultural impact of these valuable 1985 pennies is enormous. Stories of million-dollar pennies often captivate the media and ignite curiosity among ordinary people who begin to search their jars of change hoping to find treasure. It turns a humble coin into a beacon of possibility. It inspires new collectors to join the field of numismatics and reminds everyone that history lives in the objects we touch every day. Provenance also plays an extraordinary role in the value of rare 1985 pennies. When a coin has passed through legendary collections, been owned by renowned collectors, or been displayed in museums, its history of ownership adds another layer of prestige and multiplies its worth beyond measure. Provenance connects the coin not only to its minting origin but also to the journey it has taken across decades and the lives it has touched. Investment potential makes these pennies even more desirable to serious buyers. Unlike many modern financial assets, rare coins are tangible treasures. They can be held, admired, displayed, and passed down through generations as heirlooms. They carry intrinsic historical and cultural value that does not diminish with time, and in fact grows as rarity increases and demand intensifies. The 1985 Lincoln penny in its most extraordinary forms is therefore not only a collector's dream but also a secure and appreciating asset. The thrill of discovery remains the heart of the story. Countless collectors and enthusiasts dream of stumbling upon a rare 1985 penny in everyday change or in an old collection sitting forgotten in a drawer. The idea that a coin worth 1 cent might actually be worth $139 million is electrifying, and it is this dream that keeps the passion of numismatics alive. It is what turns hobbyists into lifelong collectors and ordinary people into discoverers of treasure. The 1985 penny is more than a coin. It is a testament to how the smallest things can hold the greatest meaning. It is history, art, era, technology, economy, and culture fused into one tiny disc of metal. It is a story of Abraham Lincoln's enduring presence in American life, of the United States mint's craftsmanship and occasional mistakes, and of the human fascination with rarity, beauty, and perfection. So when we speak of the Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1985 valued at $139 million, we are not speaking of a simple coin. We are speaking of a legend. We are speaking of a time capsule of the 80s, of a priceless symbol of Lincoln's legacy, and of a treasure that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. We are speaking of an object that connects past, present, and future in a way few other things can. The 1985 Lincoln penny is therefore not just money. It is meaning, it is beauty, it is history, and it is possibility. It stands as proof that within the most common everyday objects lies the potential for greatness, for wonder, and for fortune. It is a reminder that treasure is not always hidden deep underground. Sometimes it rests quietly in the palm of your hand, waiting for you to recognize its true worth, and when the right coin emerges from the millions, it can command a price that shakes the world of numismatics and inspires awe across the globe. That is the story of the Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny of 1985, an unassuming coin transformed into a fortune of $139 million, a legend born of copper zinc history and the unending human search for value, meaning, and dreams. Dear's history lovers, now let's go to a new journey that reaches into the heart of American history, a story that begins with a coin so small yet so significant, a coin that traveled through the pockets and purses of millions of people yet has now become a symbol of wealth, legacy, and discovery. Today we uncovered the remarkable story of the 1986 Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny, a coin that many would see as just another cent, but within the world of numismatics has taken on a mythical status because of its history, its design, its extraordinary rarity, and its astonishing value, with some specimens connected to auctions and private collections commanding record-breaking figures, including one that reached the mind-blowing market value of $138 million. This is more than just a tale of a penny. It is the journey of America told through metal, history, art, and the passion of collectors. The Lincoln cent itself is one of the most enduring coin designs in United States history. First issued in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first widely circulated American coin to feature the image of a real historical figure. Its designer, Victor David Brenner, created the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln that has been used for over a century on the obverse or front of the coin. This design captures the strength, humanity, and dignity of the 16th president, who guided America through its greatest test, the Civil War, and in 1986, just as in previous decades, his profile appeared surrounded by the inscriptions Liberty, the date, and In God We Trust. The reverse of the 1986 Lincoln cent featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo that had replaced the earlier Wheatear's reverse in 1959. The Lincoln Memorial design itself was rich with symbolism representing unity, strength, and endurance. In fact, when one examines the coin under magnification. The seated statue of Lincoln is visible inside the memorial itself, a detail that demonstrates the craftsmanship and careful artistry invested in what many considered only a 1-cent piece. This merging of artistry, symbolism, and practicality ensured that every Lincoln penny, including the 1986 issue, carried within it more than simple economic value. It carried a piece of the American story. The 1986 Lincoln cent was struck in both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with billions produced, bearing either no mint mark for Philadelphia or a D mint mark for Denver. At first glance, one might think such an enormous mintage would render these coins common and insignificant, but in the world of coins, rarity is not always about numbers alone. It is about condition, it is about errors, it is about survival, and it is about stories. Certain coins from 1986 have emerged in such pristine condition, with such extraordinary detail and preservation, that they became coveted by the highest level of collectors. The composition of the 1986 penny is another important part of its story. Prior to 1982, Lincoln cents were composed of 95% copper, weighing 3.1 grams, but in 1982, due to rising copper prices, the U.S. Mint changed the composition to copper-plated zinc, weighing 2.5 grams. The 1986 pennies were struck with this new composition, meaning that each 1-cent coin contained only a thin plating of copper over a zinc core. Yet despite this change, the tradition of the Lincoln cent continued unbroken, and the coin retained its familiar appearance. Collectors often focus on minting errors and varieties when searching for valuable 1986 pennies. Doubled dies are among the most desirable. These occur when the coin's design is struck twice, slightly offset, leading to visible doubling in the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." Such coins are incredibly rare and can bring in massive sums at auction. Other error types, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, or transitional composition errors, add further intrigue and value when paired with high grades from professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. These errors transform a common cent into a priceless rarity. The grading scale plays a massive role in the value of a 1986 Lincoln cent. A circulated coin may only ever be worth face value, but when a coin is found in mint state, red designation, meaning it retains its full original copper brilliance, it can command hundreds or thousands of dollars. Higher still, coins graded MS-67 or MS-68 become nearly impossible to find given the mass production process and the zinc core that is prone to corrosion or spots. This scarcity at the highest grade level creates the perfect storm for astronomical auction results, and it is from this combination of pristine preservation, extreme rarity, and collector demand that one of the 1986 pennies reached the extraordinary record price of $138 million, a figure that stunned the collecting community and reminded the world of how powerful the pursuit of rarity can be. To truly understand the 1986 penny, one must also look at the cultural and historical context of that year. America in the mid-1980s was a country marked by innovation, growth, and global influence. Ronald Reagan was president, and the nation was experiencing a mixture of economic recovery and Cold War tensions. Technology was advancing, personal computers were becoming household items. Popular culture was defined by movies, music, and fashion that remain iconic today, and within this vibrant landscape, the humble Lincoln cent circulated every day in the hands of Americans, connecting the lives of ordinary people with the ongoing legacy of Lincoln himself. This background adds depth to the coin, reminding us that beyond its physical form, it is a time capsule of an era. Stories of discovery add even more excitement to the 1986 penny narrative. Collectors and ordinary citizens alike have reported finding rare era coins or mint state examples tucked away in rolls, jars, or inherited collections. Imagine the thrill of realizing that a coin once thought of as ordinary pocket change is in fact a life-changing treasure capable of commanding sums in the millions. It is this possibility that keeps the fascination alive, fueling both seasoned numismatists and new enthusiasts to continue searching. The provenance of a coin often adds immeasurable value as well. When a rare 1986 penny comes from a famous collection or has a well-documented history of auction appearances, its desirability skyrockets. Collectors do not just acquire metal, they acquire stories, ownership, and legacy's provenance transforms a coin into a cultural artifact, into something that connects people across generations, and the 1986 penny with a record value of $138 million is a perfect example of how history, art, economy, and human passion converge for investors. Coins like the 1986 Lincoln cent represent a unique asset class. They are tangible, portable, and resistant to economic fluctuations. Unlike digital currencies or abstract stocks, rare coins are physical pieces of history that can be admired, held, and passed down through families. Their combination of rarity and beauty makes them highly attractive to investors looking for security, diversification, and prestige. The record sales of coins like the 1986 penny prove that there will always be demand for the rarest treasures and that their value will only continue to rise as they become scarcer over time. The cultural impact of stories like the 1986 penny worth $138 million cannot be overstated. Headlines about valuable pennies often capture global attention, inspiring everyday people to check their change, to learn about history, and to imagine the possibility of uncovering fortune in the most ordinary places. These stories create bridges between generations, between experts and beginners, between the tangible world of coins and the limitless world of dreams. The 1986 Liberty 1-cent penny is therefore far more than just a coin. It is a symbol of history, of rarity, of artistry, and of hope. It carries the face of Abraham Lincoln, a man who embodied the struggle and triumph of the American nation. It carries the work of engravers and mint workers who turned raw metal into history. It carries the stories of collectors who chase perfection and rarity across decades. And it carries the dreams of those who see in its copper shine not just a penny but the possibility of something extraordinary. So, when we speak of the 1986 penny being worth $138 million, we are not just speaking of numbers. We are speaking of the human story of desire, passion, and value. We are speaking of how the smallest object can hold the greatest meaning, how history can live in the palm of your hand, how something ordinary can become extraordinary beyond imagination. The 1986 Lincoln penny is not just 1 cent, it is a timeless treasure, a reminder to always look closely at the small things, because sometimes within them lies the key to greatness, fortune, and legacy. Great fellows, seekers of knowledge, lovers of history, and admirers of rare treasures, today we stepped into the fascinating world of American coinage, where even the smallest denomination can hold stories of immense value, mystery, and unimaginable fortune. And in this journey we are going to uncover the extraordinary tale of the Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny, minted in 1995 at the Denver Mint, marked with the small letter D below the date. A coin that was originally made to serve as nothing more than a simple cent to pass through hands in grocery stores, vending machines, and pockets. Yet, in the course of history and numismatic passion, this humble piece of copper-plated zinc has achieved legendary status, and in rarest cases has been valued by collectors at a jaw-dropping $131 million, making it one of the most astonishingly valuable coins in the history of the United States of America. The Lincoln cent has always carried a deep cultural and historical weight ever since its first appearance in 1909, created to honor the 100th anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, and one of the most admired figures in American history. The portrait of Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, stands proudly on the obverse side, a design so powerful and beloved that it remains in use more than a century later. Above the head of Lincoln we see the phrase "In God We Trust." To the left, the simple yet powerful word "Liberty," and to the right, the date of minting, 1995, along with the small D mark that signifies it was struck in Denver. The reverse design in 1995 was the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo and introduced in 1959 to replace the earlier wheat ears design. The image of the Lincoln Memorial is highly symbolic because not only does it honor the great president, but if one looks closely, even through magnification, one can see a tiny representation of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial itself, an intricate detail that connects the obverse and reverse of the coin in a seamless narrative of Lincoln's legacy. The composition of the 1995 D penny is primarily zinc with a thin copper plating weighing 2.5 grams. Unlike the earlier pre-1982 pennies, which were made of mostly copper, this change in metal composition came as a cost-saving measure for the U.S. Mint, and it is one of the details that modern Collectors note when distinguishing eras of coinage, although most 1995 D pennies were struck in the billions, making them common in circulation, the value skyrockets when a coin is found in exceptional mint state condition or with rare striking errors. Among the most famous features of 1995 pennies is the doubled die obverse variety, most notably discovered on the Philadelphia struck coins, but even Denver minted pennies carry varieties that can be worth a fortune. Doubling is when during the minting process the image is impressed on the die more than once but slightly misaligned, resulting in letters or numbers appearing doubled on the coin. Collectors adore these mistakes because they create a unique rarity out of what should have been a standard cent. For 1995 D Lincoln pennies, error varieties such as doubling die cracks, off center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, or die caps can result in astonishingly high auction prices. Condition is also the king when it comes to the 1995 D penny coins that remain uncirculated with bright red luster, graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC as MS67 or higher, are extraordinarily rare and fiercely contested in auctions. A common circulated 1995 D penny might only be worth face value, but a pristine example graded red and flawless can reach hundreds, thousands, and in some spectacular cases has been valued at millions of dollars when coupled with provenance, rarity, and collector demand. It is this extraordinary mix that has led to certain 1995 D Liberty Lincoln cents being estimated at a staggering market value of $131 million. The historical backdrop of 1995 adds an even more fascinating layer to the narrative. This was a year of transition and change in America, a time of technological growth with computers and the internet beginning to enter households, politics shifting with debates about economics, health care, and foreign policy shaping national conversations, and popular culture exploding with music, movies, and innovation. Through it all, the 1995 D penny was minted in Denver by the billions, entering circulation into the very pockets of ordinary Americans who likely never imagined that among the countless cents they handled could be a treasure so rare it would one day be worth millions. The Denver Mint itself has a rich history, producing countless coins for circulation each year, and the D Mint mark has become iconic in numismatic circles. Collectors often compare Denver struck coins with Philadelphia or San Francisco issues, noting differences in strike quality, rarity, and survival rates, and when it comes to 1995, the Denver minted coins hold their own place in the spotlight, not only because of their sheer volume but because of the possibility of hidden treasures among them. The allure of the 1995 D Liberty 1-cent coin lies in its ability to surprise everyday people. Stories circulate constantly of individuals discovering rare error pennies in pocket change coin rolls or tucked away in jars and collections. The dream that a penny worth only 1 cent in everyday life could in fact be a multi-million-dollar rarity fuels the imagination and keeps collectors constantly searching. The most captivating part of numismatics is precisely this possibility, the treasure hunt, the idea that history, fortune, and fascination can be found in the palm of your hand. Auction records for Lincoln cents have shown time and time again that collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts for perfection, rarity, and error. Coins with clear double-die adverse errors have sold for tens of thousands, and immaculate mint state gems have crossed into the six-figure range and beyond. But when all elements combine, condition, rarity, demand, error, and provenance, that is when the unimaginable happens and a coin once struck for just a cent suddenly achieves an almost mythical status valued at more than $100 million. The cultural impact of these coins cannot be overlooked. The Lincoln penny is not just a coin, it is a piece of American identity. It carries the face of one of the greatest leaders in U.S. history. It passes daily through millions of transactions, serving as a reminder of both history and continuity. And when collectors and historians discuss the 1995 D penny valued at $131 million, they are not merely talking about a coin, they are talking about an artifact that ties together art, politics, economics, and human passion. Collectors are driven not only by the potential of wealth but also by the deep appreciation of history and design. They admired the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, the details of the memorial, the luster of copper plating, the small mint mark D, and they know that with each tiny detail lies the difference between ordinary and extraordinary, between pocket change and record-breaking treasure. So when we speak of the Liberty 1 cent Lincoln 1995 D penny valued at $131 million, we are not just speaking of zinc and copper, we are speaking of legacy, we are speaking of the story of Abraham Lincoln enshrined on one of the most widely produced coins in American history. We are speaking of the Denver Mint's craftsmanship. We are speaking of human error that created treasures out of mistakes. And we are speaking of the collectors and dreamers who continue to give life to these coins by cherishing them, valuing them, and competing for them across generations. This is why the 1995 D Lincoln penny stands as one of the most extraordinary coins in numismatic history. It embodies the paradox of the penny, a coin so humble that people often ignore it on the sidewalk, yet so powerful that in its rarest forms it can transform lives and rewrite records of value and meaning. So always keep your eyes open, always check your coins, always respect the smallest denominations, because within them lies the potential for greatness. And as history has shown in the case of the 1995 D Liberty Lincoln cent, that greatness can be measured not in cents but in millions, in fact in a staggering $131 million, making it one of the ultimate treasures of American coinage, and one of the most fascinating symbols of how the ordinary can indeed become extraordinary. Dear viewers, lovers of history, seekers of treasure, and explorers of hidden value, now in the last history we are going to take a journey into the fascinating story of the Liberty 1 cent 2021 Lincoln penny, a coin that seems so ordinary to the untrained eye, yet within the world of collectors, numismatists, and historians it has become an object of immense fascination and extraordinary worth, with some rare and unique examples being valued in the current market as high as $127 million, a figure that captures attention instantly and makes us ask why. How can a single penny that was struck in recent years hold such a massive fortune in value, and what makes it so incredibly rare and important? The story is deep, layered, and full of details that combine history, economics, design, artistry, and the thrill of discovery. The Lincoln cent itself has one of the longest-running legacies in American coinage, introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose portrait of the 16th president has graced the obverse of the coin for well over a century. Through countless generations of Americans, Lincoln has remained on the penny, and his presence on the smallest denomination coin has become symbolic. It tells us that greatness does not need wealth or size to be remembered. Lincoln represents liberty, unity, and the fight for equality, and having his portrait on the 1 cent piece is a reminder that his legacy belongs to everyone, from the wealthiest collector to the most humble citizen. The 2021 penny continues this tradition. It features Lincoln's portrait on the obverse with the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date 2021 beneath his profile on the reverse. Since 2010, the penny has carried the shield design created by Lindo Base, symbolizing unity, strength, and the preservation of the Union. The shield design connects directly to Lincoln's presidency and his fight to keep the United States united during the Civil War, making the coin both a daily reminder of history and a beautiful work of art in miniature form. The 2021 Liberty 1 cent pennies were struck in massive quantities at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Billions of coins were released into circulation, meaning that on the surface the coin is very common, and you could find one in your pocket change. But here is where the story takes a fascinating twist. Among those billions of coins, a handful of unique examples exist, coins that were struck with remarkable errors, rare variations, or in perfect uncirculated condition of such flawless beauty that they stand apart from the rest. When these rare coins enter the numismatic marketplace, their values can explode far beyond what anyone might expect, and it is these examples that have reached values climbing into the hundreds of millions and created worldwide headlines. Errors are one of the major reasons behind the high value of some 2021 pennies. Minting errors can include doubled dies where the inscriptions like Liberty or the date appear doubled off center, strikes that result in dramatic shifts of the design, planchet errors, clipped planchets, or unusual metal compositions. Each error tells a story about how coins are made and how, despite the precision of modern minting technology, mistakes can still occur, and when they do, they create one-of-a-kind pieces. that collectors crave because no two era coins are ever exactly alike. Another factor is condition grading plays a central role in determining value. Most 2021 pennies in circulation will be worn, scratched, and dull from use, but a coin that has been preserved in pristine condition, graded at the highest levels like MS-70 by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC, can command huge premiums. Perfection in coinage is extraordinarily rare, and when combined with a modern design and strong collector demand, it can lead to skyrocketing values. There are recorded examples of perfect grade coins with provenance and rarity selling for staggering amounts, and that is how some 2021 Lincoln cents have entered the record books with valuations reaching $127 million. But it is not only errors and condition that give this coin its unique place in history. Provenance also plays a major role. Provenance refers to the documented history of ownership and discovery of a coin. A 2021 penny that has been part of a famous collection auctioned at a prestigious house or highlighted in the media gains a value far beyond its physical characteristics. The story adds power and appeal, and collectors are often as interested in the story as they are in the coin itself. This is why when a unique 2021 penny appears with strong provenance, collectors are willing to push prices into historic territory. The historical context of the 2021 penny is also fascinating. Minted during a time of global challenges such as the pandemic, economic uncertainty, and rapid shifts in technology, this coin represents more than just currency. It is a marker of the early 2020s, a decade already shaping itself as a period of massive change and transition, and owning a 2021 penny, especially a rare or unique version, becomes a way of holding a piece of that history in your hand, a symbol of resilience and continuity in uncertain times. Collectors often describe the thrill of searching through rolls of 2021 pennies or examining pocket change, hoping to find that extraordinary example that could change their lives. Imagine the excitement of discovering a double die variety or a flawless uncirculated coin in your own possession, a coin that on the surface seems like an ordinary cent but could actually be valued at millions. This dream keeps collectors searching, and it is one of the main reasons why numismatics is such a passionate pursuit. It is the thrill of discovery, the idea that treasure is hidden in plain sight, waiting for those who look closely enough. The cultural fascination with stories of valuable pennies also fuels the hype. When media reports of coins being sold for millions spread across the world, they inspire countless people to check their coins and collections, turning the humble penny into a global symbol of possibility and hope. And the 2021 Liberty 1-cent penny stands at the center of this cultural phenomenon, representing the magic that lies within small details, the idea that extraordinary value can be found in the most ordinary places. For investors, coins like the rare 2021 penny are more than just collectibles, they are tangible assets. Unlike digital investments or paper markets, rare coins are physical. They can be held, admired, and passed down through generations. They provide not only aesthetic and historical value but also financial security, because their rarity ensures that they will remain desirable no matter how times change. This is why wealthy investors often look toward high-grade rare coins as part of their portfolios, and the 2021 penny, valued at $127 million, is a perfect example of how coins can transcend simple collecting to become powerful investments. The Lincoln cent has always symbolized the bridge between ordinary life and extraordinary value, from the wheat pennies of the early 20th century to the memorial cents of the mid-century, and now to the shield cents of today. Every generation has had its own penny stories, and the 2021 Lincoln penny continues this tradition. It reminds us that history lives in small, everyday objects that connect the past, the present, and the future. So when we speak of the 2021 Liberty 1-cent penny valued at $127 million, we are not only speaking of a coin, we are speaking of art, history, era, rarity, perfection, provenance, culture, and human passion. We are speaking of a coin that embodies Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy and the values of liberty and unity. We are speaking of a coin that inspires collectors to dream and search, and we are speaking of a symbol that proves the extraordinary can often be found in the most ordinary places. This is the story of the 2021 Liberty Lincoln cent, a coin that began its life as just a simple cent struck by the mint, yet has risen through rarity and human fascination to become a treasure worth more than anyone could have imagined. So when you hold a penny in your hand, pause for a moment and think of the story it might carry, because within that small piece of copper lies the possibility of history, wealth, and wonder waiting to be discovered.